Greetings, everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel, All That Is. I'm so glad to be here with Katrice. We are on episode number 10 of Galactically Speaking with Raquel and Katrice. Yeah, and it's hard to believe, right? So welcome to the show, Katrice. How are you doing?
Thank you. Did you say how am I?
Yeah.
Sorry, gone. I'm good. I'm good. It's
Good, good.
lovely.
So you got your computer back too, right?
Yeah, and it's just sort of hanging in there by the grace of God. God, it's all it is, because I do need to get a new one. But
Well, we're here today. That's awesome.
I know. I mean, hello, be here now, right? I'm not going to worry about the next time it decides to go burp. The next time it goes burp, I'm just going to where I had it fixed and going, come with me right now, and I'll get a new.
Yeah.
Just putting that off as long as possible.
Yeah, I know it's hard. Anyway, so today we're changing gears a bit, everybody, and I was nudged by my guides to do a live show as I channeled. Well, it won't be live, but this will be recorded.
We're live at the
We are
moment.
live,
Yes.
but I was to do a channeling with Yeshua ben Joseph, also known as Jesus Christ, and Mary Magdalene. And so Katrice is going to ask me a few questions, which I have not been privy to, except for one, which she will let you know what that question is. But other than that, I don't have any idea what the questions are. And so just for the sake of the audience, if you are new to my channel, I just wanted to give you a bit of an introduction of how these beings came to be within my reality. Yeshua actually came to my rescue when I was attacked by the Draco and the dark energies, shall we say, on a very important time in my life when I was struggling and just coming into my realization of what this whole ascension process was all about. And I was doing my research into, just first of all, I think I stumbled into automatic writing, and that's how I sort of went into this portal, if you will, with some dark energies and had this interaction with other beings from Saturn. But then they sort of, the Draco intervened, and they took over this portal, shall we say, that I had opened with this other being from Saturn. And they started to impose their energy on me, and I started to feel that it was not a good connection because they started doing physical stuff on me that was not a very good thing. And so I called, I asked for help. I actually got help from a healer friend of mine in the US, and she was able to get help for me from Kuan Yin. And so we did a couple of healing sessions, but I don't know how or what happened. They were still able to get through the portals and still continue to harm me, and just scaring me, putting like fear into my reality and just imposing their thoughts of fear into me. And so I had another session with this lady, and at that time we called in Yeshua and a group of others that came in with him, and they were able to surround me and sort of create like a protection field around me, and they were able to remove these beings from my reality. And so since then, the floodgates, if you will, opened up to this higher dimensional energy and what this being represented in my life. And so I was then introduced to Mary Magdalene and other beings within this being's realm, shall we say. And since then, a lot of things have come into my reality. We have written a book together called The Voice of an Angel. And it's the memoirs of this being known as Yeshua ben Joseph, who's considering himself as a light being. And so we wrote this book together. I believe it was just after COVID, so around end of 2022. And since that time, I've had a lot of other interactions, shall we say, and transmissions. I do like live shows on YouTube with live transmissions, guiding you through various aspects of what this ascension means to us on this plane of existence. I've also worked with Mary Magdalene one-on-one, and I've done a lot of transmissions with her as well. And it's called the Speaker Series on my YouTube channel. So I've had a lot of interactions with these two beings and many other beings that are in their awareness, if you will. And they sort of introduced me to all of these other beings. And so, I feel like they are my friends in a way from another world, right? And so I've received a lot of really positive feedback from them, and a lot of help, a lot of healing, a lot of wisdom, and mostly I think it would be a shift in my own belief systems, because when I started out, my own belief systems were, I was very opposed to what the Catholic Church and what Christianity was all about. And so if you look at what Christianity represents in this day and age, it's as if Jesus is like very in your face, shall we say, within the Christian religion, right? It's like everything to do with this person. And, even though it was 2000 years ago, it's like Christianity almost took on a new face since his crucifixion or leaving of his physical body from this plane 2000 years ago. So everything to do with Christianity was like, I was totally opposed to it, and I didn't believe in any of that. Something in me didn't resonate with all of the teachings that Christianity had to offer. And so I went off on this personal spiritual quest. I dipped my toes into Buddhism. And then I came back into the church for a while, and it was just through music. I loved the music and the choir and music in the churches. And so when I moved to Vancouver initially, that was in 2008, I think. And it took me a few years, but I never really resonated with it. And then I went off, lived on Salt Spring Island, as you know, Katrice, for 2 years. And I delved deep into my yoga and meditation practice, and that's where all of this happened. I stumbled on automatic writing, and then all of this happened. So anyway, so what has happened in my own spiritual practice, if you will, has spun itself on its head, and I have been shown a different path, if you will. And so my own spiritual practice has come into the light, if you will, and I've come to believe that there is this larger presence of, all that is, if you want to call it all that is, or if you want to call it the Almighty, or, the Creator. And so I've aligned myself to this energy. And so the way I see these beings are they're just like you and me, but we're all on this soul's evolutionary path, if you will. And we are all, in a way, headed back to the energy of the Creator. And so it doesn't matter whether we were born 2000 years ago or if we were born into this reality in this present now moment. We are all in different aspects of the Creator, just having a very physical reality or a physical experience within that larger dimensional experience. And so I hope that gives you a little bit of background. I know I went off on many tangents, but that's the reality, if you will, of my engagement with these beings. They've been engaging with me on so many different levels and aspects. They've been my ascension guide. They've been, my guides to showing up on this platform, writing the book with me and giving me that historical sort of aspect of their lives. And so they've shown me all of these different aspects to what my life is and what spirituality is, and the historical movement, if you will, from their time of passing on the earth, and the architecture of the cosmos, if you will. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so when did you become aware that you are meant to be, I don't want to say an ascended master, but a teacher of the ascended masters? Do you know what I'm saying? Like when you're sharing this, like there comes a time where you go, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to be taking this out into the world. So is
Well, it
that what?
wasn't easy. Yeah,
No,
it wasn't easy.
it
I
is
was
scary.
I was kicking and screaming because, first of all, like I said earlier, I was not somebody that believed in Christianity. And so I was like, I don't want the Christian folks to come after me. And so there was a lot of resistance from my side, into where
So
I was going and what I was going to be doing. And
okay,
so,
so I'm sorry, I don't even know if we've ever talked about this. I don't
yeah,
think so. But you just said that one of the holdups for you was worried about how Christians would be reacting to this.
yeah.
But then
Because
again,
see, the thing that I want to stress on is that, it doesn't matter what your religious practice or your
mhm,
spirituality is, right? For me, and the truth that has been revealed to me is that this being known as Yeshua and how the church or Christianity portrays him
uh-huh.
is vastly different, right? And that's what came out in the book for me, right? When he and
Okay.
I teamed up on writing the book, I saw this being in a very, very different light as to what was being portrayed, or what I understood was, what's being portrayed about him by Christianity and the religion known as Christianity.
So just to get clear here. So it's when you started bringing all that higher vibrational energy through and you came to that realization, what everything that I've taught about this is not the truth.
Yeah,
And when we realize that, it's like there's a sensing system throughout us where we just know that
yeah,
is
yeah,
the truth,
yeah.
right? And so,
Well, and
yeah.
and you have to understand too that I had written all that is progressing to the fifth dimension before this book, before The Voice of an Angel. But there
Mhm.
were also breadcrumbs from prior to this realization or this connection that I had with
Right.
this whole process that took place on Salt Spring Island. When I first came to Vancouver, I went to a psychic. Just, for a reading. I was out on the weekend. I was like, okay, what the hell? I'll just get a reading. And this lady, when I went in there, she's like, have you written your book? And I
Yeah.
had no idea what this book was all about, or whether even, I had no inklings of writing a book in the first place. And so I said, what book? And she said, you're meant to write a book. And I said, really? And she said, yes. And she even gave me the name of the book. So, I was like, yeah, gobsmacked, exactly,
She
right?
actually gave you the name of the
Yeah,
book.
yeah, she did.
Wow. Isn't that
And,
interesting?
and
Love it.
that was again confirmed by somebody else. I can't remember how that happened, but again, there was another confirmation I got from a totally different person that I was to write the same book. And it always kept coming back, through these different realms of consciousness, if you will, right? And
Totally.
I had no idea how it would come about or where it would come about. And nobody told me it was going to be with Yeshua. It was just the name of the book, right? And so I was like, angels, I've never met an angel. And so at that time I was totally in my matrix job, and I was like totally blinded to everything that was this whole ascension journey, if you will, right? And so when all of this happened, um, he confirmed it to me, and he said, yeah, we are going to write a book together, and this has been prophesied. And so I was like, really? And so that, like, it was like
Me, right? You sort of
chills down my back, right? Yeah. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, why have you chosen me? Like, of all people, like, why did you choose me? And he was like, that's precisely why I chose you, because you're coming at this from a very, from a perception of, that's pure in a way, because
yes.
it's not tainted by any bias, because you've not had that belief system, if you will, ingrained in your body, in your mind, right? About what
Mhm.
Christianity is and what it's supposed to be, as documented or as practiced upon your earth plane. And so
Right.
that was for him, that was a very pure sort of way of coming at him at me telling his story, right? And so for me, it was a total honor, but at the same time, I was totally petrified of writing this book, right? And so we wrote half of it, and then it took a pause, like I for some reason I backed out for a bit, and I was like, no, we can't do this right now. I need to balance myself out for some more time and think about it. And so then after the first book was published and I became more and more aware of this whole cosmic sort of timeline and this ascension process and everything else that was happening, not only with my own connection with the Draco, but my oversoul connection to the Draco. And so there was this whole revolution that took place within my own life, right? And so then we came back after about, I don't know, 6 months or a year, and we picked up where we left off and finished the book in 2022. And yeah, it's been fantastic since then. I've matured, I've grown, I've become more confident in what I'm saying and in what my own spirituality and what that represents, and so here we are. And now I offer regular sessions, if you will, to anybody that wants to come and talk to these beings. I have it on my website and it's out there. And so what we're going to do today is similar to what I would offer anybody that would want a one-on-one session with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. And so the way I do it is I just focus my energy, and these beings come to me and they talk to me just like we are talking to each other right now. I can hear them, so I'm clairaudient. I can't see them. But yeah, they're open to any questions that you wish to ask them. So
whenever
I know
you're
it's a lot.
skitter scatter, let's get at her. Sorry, that wasn't very spiritual. Whatever that is. Anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, anyway, I hope that gives you a bit of background and where it is I'm coming from and in terms of my connection with these beings. But yeah, it's just been a really great story for me.
Totally. And it's still happening every
It's
day.
still happening and unraveling. Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll just take a deep breath in, and you can get started whenever you're ready,
Well,
Katrice.
when they're there, are they going to let me know?
Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll be able to get going.
Greetings, Katrice. This is Yeshua ben Joseph, the Son of God.
Yes.
I would like to introduce myself that way for one reason. And I like to explain why I introduce myself that way before we get started. So I would like to welcome all the guests as well who are watching this show. But the reason why I introduce myself as the Son of God is that I am, in a way, given that designation, if you will, after my incarnation on your earth plane by the Almighty. And so I am Yeshua as a light worker, shall we say, or my star name, shall we say. I was born in Sirius, and so my name as a star being from Sirius is Yeshua. But after my incarnation on the earth plane, I was born into the family of Mary and Joseph. And so the tradition at that time in Egypt, or in the Middle East, as you call it now, you took on your father's name. And so it was the son of Joseph. The translation of what that means is the son of Joseph. So it was Yeshua ben Joseph. And there is also some discussion about how the bin is pronounced and how it is spelled. So it is in Arabic, it is B-I-N, and in Hebrew, it is B-E-N. And so ideally, it should be spelled as B-E-N, as I come from that tradition. But I chose to, with Raquel, spell it as B-I-N. So I hope that makes sense, because she has been challenged about this spelling in the past. So it is Yeshua ben Joseph, the Son of God. And so this ben Joseph is my earthly title, shall we say, and the Son of God was endowed on me after my incarnation on the earth plane as who you might know as Jesus. And so I hope this gives you some clarity around my name and how it is I identify myself. You may go ahead and ask your questions. I am here with my beloved Mary Magdalene, who will also be participating in our gathering today. So go ahead and ask your questions. I'm happy to address them.
Okay. I'm asking questions more on a collective basis here. But when we're looking out at what's going on all over the world, right? There's always been different places of upheaval from the beginning of time, but now there was so much rampant fear about what is coming to us all. And it also is bringing up all this duality, the us versus them, the you versus me, the black versus white. What is an idea about how each of us individually can have a positive effect on changing that separation consciousness into an all-inclusive community village consciousness? There you go.
Thank you for your question. This is a very wise question. My incarnation on your earth plane as Jesus was undertaken with the intention of bringing forth peace and harmony within your collective. I understood the climate within which I was bringing in my incarnation, and at that time it was in a way a replica of what you are undergoing at this date and time within your own history. At that time, it was the Romans. And what you are seeing now is a battle between many political parties. But if you look at it from a worldwide view, there are a few, shall we say, that are, for ease, let us just call them the dark side and the light side. There is an overarching representation, shall we say, of the dark energies. And the light energies have been imbalanced, shall we say, since that time of perhaps when I had my incarnation. So the dark energies have been on the winning side, shall we say, and in a huge number against the white side of the balance, shall we say. And so as this timeline progressed from perhaps 2,000 years ago, the dark energies have mostly represented the patriarchy in many iterations upon your earth plane in terms of ruling, in terms of imposing their aggressive nature upon your population. And so this has caused the rift, if you will, and the division between all of the beings upon your earth plane. But as you might be aware, there is also a dark layer, shall we say, and how this came about because of the invasion of your earth plane by beings from another plane of existence. And so because of this intrusion, they have imposed these energies upon the pure beings, shall we say, that existed upon the earth plane, that mostly represented the light. And this is where the imbalance took place, where the darkness became imbalanced, shall we say, and they tipped the balance towards the dark side, where the aggression took over, shall we say, your earth plane. And so we see this coming through all of these timelines into your present moment of imbalance, where the dark is more in tune than the light. And so what has happened is shall we say, a disadvantage to not only your earth plane, but also has affected the timelines and how the universe or the galaxies within your own cosmic reality, let us say, has shifted the balance, has skewed all of the timelines within your reality. And so what is expected to happen is that a balance is now taking place where the light has come upon your plane very powerfully for many reasons. And one of that is, and Raquel has talked about this in your past discussions, the earth plane is journeying through what you might call the photon belt. And so by default, there is light that is being streamed upon your earth plane. And so the balance is coming back into the light, shall we say. But there is also another layer, shall we say, that is taking place, that is a victory for the light, let us say. And this is coming from other beings that have collected themselves in order to evict these imposing energies that have taken your plane of existence as a prisoner planet for many thousands of your years now. And so these light workers and these light beings have received a decree, shall we say, from the Almighty to have these beings removed from your plane of existence because they have broken international or cosmic laws. And so, in other words, universal laws, we call it universal laws, but there are many names for this. So let us call it universal laws. So these beings broke these universal laws of existence because they went against the light and descended on a plane of existence that was, first of all, not in alignment with their living conditions. They are a different species from the beings that are living upon the earth plane. And so this was vastly opposed to the true evolutionary cycle of any species upon your earth plane. And so this infiltration has thrown the balance off on many levels of your existence as a pure earth plane. And so this polarity that you see between people and between any existence, shall we say, within your reality, you see this as polar opposites. I paused there for a minute because I was trying to get the words out correctly, because there are so many layers to this. You get resistance or polarity within your political arena. You get resistance from your reality between races. You get resistance between your ideas of practicing religion. And so there are many different aspects to this polarity. And so in order for us to explain this, it has to encompass all of these energies in a way. And that's why I wanted to give you a larger perspective of what is taking place, and then drill down into the minute details of what it is that you are willing to understand or wishing to understand as a solution to this problem. So the solution in my eyes is that from your perspective and from Raquel's perspective, it comes down to what you are wanting or willing to do as a soul, and in that pure aspect of your soul as an individual, and where it is you want to go on your soul's path or your soul's mission. And so again, this is not a simple question, because each of you have a unique soul path or a soul destination. Let us give you an example, because this is a beautiful relationship between you and Raquel, but your soul paths are vastly different. Raquel has talked about her soul's path, not only on this show, but on many other discussions and in her book as well. She has come from this residual energy, let us say, from the Draco invasion. So her soul, if you will, or her past lifetimes, have been completely embroiled in this battle, shall we say. And so she has worked really hard to free her soul and to free her oversoul from the constraints of these imposing energies. And she has come through on the other side and aligned herself purely with the energies of the Creator. And so she can now stand in her own light as a pure being, as it is connected to the Creator, for her soul to now be aligned back to that true evolutionary cycle as designed by the Creator. For you, on the other hand, you are on a trajectory, if you will, of your soul's path, where you have come in. Although you have had many past lifetimes upon this earth plane, your soul mission for this lifetime was purely to help the collective ascend in whatever way possible. And so you do this through your teachings, through your own reflection, shall we say, of shining your own light so that the collective may see your pureness and your joy. Your joy is reflected in every conversation that you have. And so in a way that electrifies the field within your reality. And so you magnetize people in that way. And so they are able to then receive joy from your reality, from your just being in the room, if you understand me, right? So if you take both of your lifetimes and just align it beside each other, you see that you are both on very different soul journeys, but you come together as one in that understanding that you are both on this ascension journey along with the collective that has that same understanding of ascension, and that you are on this greater journey of evolution of your own soul individually and collectively. And so there is that rising up, shall we say, that is being experienced upon your earth plane at this time for all beings that have come to that realization that they are on this same trajectory or this ascension process where they are in alignment with their true soul's purpose of ascending their being to this higher dimensional aspect of their souls. And so for you to, in a way, gain a solution, there is no one solution. It is coming from that person's heart and how they wish to bring forth that reality within the collective. So the work that you and Raquel are doing is very pure. It is very beneficial to the collective as you are sharing these insights to them so that the collective might know that this is what is happening in reality. There are many beings that are still asleep to the true reality of what is taking place, not only on your earth plane, but galactically, universally, cosmically. And so the more beings come to know about this ascension process, this evolutionary process of what a soul is going through within your reality, the more they are equipped to take on their own soul's mission, whether individually or as a collective, and then align their own soul's mission for this particular incarnation. And whether it is to be quiet or whether it is to stand as a leader, much like you and Raquel are, and take up the mantle for some purpose within that ascension collective journey is totally up to the being that comes into that realization of their soul's path. And so I understand that there is a lot of unrest happening within your reality. The best way to do this is to receive that information, however hard it is for you to receive it within your own reality. Receive it for what it is. Offer it up to the highest light within your own reality, whether that is to your guides, to the Creator. say a prayer, and in gratitude offer up these energies to that higher light. Because what is happening is that if you attach emotion or energy, shall we say, to that energy that you are experiencing, you are only making the problem worse. So it is better for you to acknowledge it, witness it, and transmute it in your own capacity to the higher light. And so, from our perspective, what takes place is that if you, shall we say, surround this energy with understanding and with love in your heart, and with forgiveness in your heart, and with peace in your heart, then those energies are much more in alignment with the Creator than the energy of, say, fear or, or aggression. And so, when a higher frequency energy surrounds a low frequency energy, then that energy is wrapped in a ball, shall we say, and it gets transmuted into the higher light. And once that happens, it dissolves into the universe. And so that energy does not have the ability to exist anymore. And so, in this way, you are helping the larger collective or the larger energy of the collective to bring about peace in a way. Even if it is a small degree of peace, you are transmuting that energy of aggression, of fear. I hope this helps you, because I know we went all over the place, but I needed to give you a larger perspective in order to give you a cohesive answer to your question.
Yeah, I totally understand, because each one of us individually has only so much power within us. But as a spiritual collective, every time as you share that, say, I get out there and shine my little brand of joy, it has an impact. But we cannot, well, there's a saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So all of us need to just do what's right within our heart, is what I got from that answer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. What was that other thing? Oh, there's something else. Okay, so let's have another question. Okay, I'm going to ask a question that Raquel had actually wanted answered. And the question is, Yeshua, how long did your grandmother live for in this physical plane?
My grandmother, Anna.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you for your question. I again have to go back to a practice, shall we say, or a timeline or a lineage from within which these beings were birthed. And I perhaps think my beloved Mary would be a better person to answer this question, even though she was my grandmother. But Mary comes from this lineage, what you might call the Sophia consciousness or the Sophia collective. And this is steeped deeply into the energies of the divine feminine and how that is practiced, shall we say, in the most purest form. So I will step back and allow for my beloved to answer your question. Greetings. This is Mary Magdalene. I am overjoyed to be here in your presence today, and I thank you for your question. Anna, as you call her, is Yeshua's grandmother during his incarnation as Jesus upon the earth plane. However, I know this being much before the incarnation of myself as Mary Magdalene upon your earth plane 2000 of your years ago. And we come from a lineage that is known as the Sophia Collective. And many beings that you might be familiar with through your history also belong to this lineage. A few names that might be familiar to you are Mother Mary, Isis of Egypt, Hathor of Egypt, White Buffalo Calf Woman, and many others. And so we are a group of women who have practiced, shall we say, and honed our skills to what that original spark, if you will, and what that energy of the Divine Mother represented. So if you look back to the original creation of when the birthing of the light came into being, shall we say, and who we know as the Creator or the Almighty, this energy consisted of everything that we know of, or all that is that you may know of in your present day and age, and everything that we know of in our entire lifetimes as well. And so this being, when it first came into existence and became aware of itself, it was in a way looking at itself in a mirror. And while it deciphered or understood that energy, it was actually the energy or the polar opposite of its own energy that now became represented as the feminine energies within that one energy of the Creator. And so this is what we know today as the divine feminine and the divine masculine in their equal balance, if you will. And so that original spark, if you will, of the divine feminine energy has taken many iterations since its inception, or since its identification, shall we say, of what the divine feminine energies represent. And so this has taken root in many mystery schools that took place within your earth plane during perhaps the Egyptian civilization upon your earth plane. I say this because Anna came into your reality during those times as well. And she lived for 600 of your years within that incarnation as Yeshua's grandmother. But she lived many hundreds of years prior to Yeshua's birth as Jesus. And so she knew the secrets, shall we say, of how to extend her physical life upon your earth plane. And so she was able to keep her body, shall we say, in stasis condition for extended periods of time. This practice is perhaps familiar to you, as you might know the yogis of India practice this in the mountains, where they would reduce their breath to almost nothing and still their body and their mind in such a way that they would exist on other planes of reality while having the most basic reality of themselves within the physical planes. And then they might come back into animation after many hundreds of your years. And this was the same practice that Anna practiced, as she would animate or reanimate her physical form after she was in stasis for many, many hundreds of years. She did this on and off in a way to gain knowledge, shall we say, or bring through the knowledge of the divine feminine through the centuries, and how that revealed itself on many aspects of your physical world through many different generations of your physical world. And so she carried that thread of reality, shall we say, of those pure energies through many generations upon your earth plane. And so she knew the secrets of Isis and Hathor that were practiced many generations prior to her physical incarnation as Anna. And so she practiced all of these mystery school teachings throughout her life. And when Yeshua was born, she became aware of the requirements, shall we say, of this pure birth that was being presented to her as she was to birth the mother of this child who was to represent the Father or the Creator in its pure form as the representation of the Creator. And so in this way, she was perhaps around the age of, I would say, 500 when Yeshua came into being as her grandson. And so she was the mother and the grandmother of many generations during that time, and that reality of which you know as Yeshua or Jesus Christ in your reality. I hope this answers your question.
Interesting. Okay. There, we hear a lot about fake news, and we hear a lot about fake news, but we also hear all these conflicting answers coming from different divergent parts of the population. How is it that some truths, let's just call it that, mistruth, how that can be so believed by by such a large percentage of the population when they see by what is going on in their reality that that is not true? What is it within humans that allows our mind to just be swayed so strongly by these other beings? Is it charismatic? Is it a desire to have someone else tell them what to do? I'm just curious what that is all about.
This is Yeshua. Thank you for your question.
Mm.
So I will go back to one element that I talked about earlier, and this is to do with belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the human being over the ages have been directed, shall we say, in a certain way to think in your society by the aggressors and by these beings that have implanted themselves within your society from another plane of existence. And so what they have done is they have, in a way, ruled you by proxy behind the scenes because they are hideous to look at from your perspective as a human being. And so because they did not want your beings on the earth plane to completely fear them, they took this upon themselves to create a hierarchy within their ruling structure. And so they created this hierarchy within your society and how they wanted you to perceive that hierarchy in order to live what is perceived as a peaceful society. But for them, it was a very beneficial hierarchy because they were able to have all of their needs met in terms of, I know this is a very difficult aspect to speak about, but they were serviced in a way by your women, by your men, and they had a requirement of children, shall we say, as their food source. And so behind the scenes, all of their needs were met in terms of these physical requirements that they needed, but they also needed energetic energy or vampirism, shall we say, in order for them to survive. And so in a way, they were sucking your energy in order to have themselves breathe and live within your environment. And this was done on many levels. And so for them to survive, they had to create this structure within your reality for them to survive within the background. Now you see, they are not visible to you and your naked eye because they live in a very slim band of reality, which is the fourth dimensional reality. And they created a world where you live within the third and the lower third dimensional reality. There are very few beings that can actually see them. And if they have progressed, if you will, within their own lives in order to be able to see these beings for what they truly are. And so if you keep that in mind and the structure or the hierarchy that they created within your society, this has over the many years been ingrained within your population as a way of life. And so you are in a way structured through your ancestors to live a certain way, to respect the law, to respect the structure that was created for you over many thousands of your years. And so if you imagine this structure, now if I tell you that this structure is completely false, you are not going to believe me. Why would you believe me? Because this is what you have been practicing all of your life, all of your grandmother's life, all of her grandmother's lives. And so in a way, that truth does not sit well with you because that is not the truth that you know. But it is the truth according to the Creator and what the Creator wished for you to be living in sovereignty, living in harmony with the earth, living in abundance, living a life that was truly meant for you and your soul to progress in the most authentic way, in the most spiritual manner. None of this is within your reality today. Your dream is to chase wealth. Your dream is to be successful within your working environment. Your dream is to marry, to have children, and to succeed financially. In a way, money has become your God. And this is not the true path of the Creator. And so this is the reality that was constructed for you. This is the false reality of your matrix. And so if you insert a truth, the truth of the Creator within this false reality or this false matrix, there is going to be resistance. And so when we talk about this evolution or ascension, if you will, this is the truth that is being realized by many. And as I mentioned earlier, you are cosmically traversing through the photon belt. So whether you like it or not, some beings are being exposed to the light. And the truth is being shown in their face, and what the truth of the Creator is, and what the true aspect of their soul truly is. And so these are the beings that are coming into the realization of the truth of what everything truly means, and that this false reality that has been created for you, whether it is 100 or 1,000 years, in all of its aspects, are a false reality. And so this is what is coming into your reality at this moment. There are those that are seeing the truth for what it is, and then there are those that wish to uphold the falseness or the false reality of the matrix that was constructed on your behalf by these intervening or imposing beings. And so even though they created a lifestyle for you that is perhaps in comfort, and in some manner it is the only way that you know of, on many levels it is not your true soul's path. And even though you might live in a family that is filled with joy and happiness, there are many aspects that are following this false programming, shall we say. And it is deeply buried within every person's psyche, whether you like it or not. And so there are many that are being birthed in your reality that are coming to, shall we say, implant the truth. And these are very young souls. And you might know them as star seeds within your reality. They also call them crystal children or indigo children. And now there is a new breed of children that are calling themselves the Aurora children. And so all of these beings are pure beings of the light that have taken on incarnations, if you will, that are purely coming in with the light of the Creator, that have not been exposed to this false reality, shall we say, that has been built upon your earth plane for many thousands of years. And so these beings are speaking their truth and what it is they see from the higher realms as the Creator's energy. And so this is perhaps what you are seeing as the polarity within your reality and the clashing of ideas or minds and different subjects within your field of reality, whether it's politics or religion. I hope this answers your question.
Yes. So I'm not one for generally asking different entities, spirit, whatever, to give me answers. I am one of these people that generally tunes in myself and connects in. But just because I have you here in your overarching vision, reality, being able to see into the future, is there anything that you could give me, Katrice, in relationship to what is going to be transpiring for me in, say, the next 5 years? Please.
Thank you for your question. You are what I would consider an old soul, and you have taken on this incarnation for many reasons, and you wanted to explore within your soul the energies, shall we say, of joy, of happiness, of sharing joy, and of experiencing joy within your own reality and within your own heart. And to a large extent, I would say that you have accomplished your soul's mission. It does not matter whether you experience this through birthing of your children, through a life partner, through friends, or through your community. You see, the energy of joy can be experienced on many levels. And so you are on an exploration of experiencing joy in all its aspects, in whatever form it comes to you. And so you see, this is the magnetic energy of your being and why people are attracted to you. And so I ask you to continue to explore this in whatever form, even though this is just one aspect of your soul's journey within this reality or this incarnation. The other one being was to experience the birthing of children. And so you have gone through that experience as well. And so in a way, these are points within your life that you had planned on a soul level prior to your incarnation. This is like a pre-incarnation plan that you had for this lifetime. And so it is like a checkbox that you have marked off all of these energies that you have already experienced within your life. And so what remains now of your life is for you to continue to shine in this way. But what you have now come into your, what you have now received, shall we say, into your reality through your oversoul is this energy of the ascension. And so you have in a way taken on an additional aspect of your soul. And so this is like a bonus, shall we say, for your soul's experience upon this earth plane at this time, as it is a very important time within from a cosmic perspective, as there are many beings that are taking incarnations just to be a part of this golden age, shall we say, upon the earth plane at this time. And so for you and for all beings that are going through this incarnation at this time, are in a way a group of beings that will be forever in the history books, shall we say, of the galaxy, as those beings that took an incarnation upon the golden times or the golden years of this cosmic timeline, shall we say. And so I ask you to enjoy every moment that you experience in whatever form it comes to you, and give thanks and praise the Almighty, praise your own soul for all of these things that you experience in every moment. Be present and be thankful for everything that you are experiencing. And if you find it in your heart to share those experiences with the collective, do so, as you have that opportunity within your own reality to shine brightly for others to see your bright light. And so this is the benefit of your incarnation, where you are able to, like a beacon, shine your light, shine your experience on the collective, so that they may see that for their own experience, what it is that you are experiencing and what it is that you are showing them as an example of what a life could possibly be like in a more joyful and in a more peaceful and happy circumstance. Thank you for your question.
Okie dokie. I haven't really got anything else to ask at this point. I am very grateful to have sat here with you. Thank you for what you've brought forth.
Thank you for this interaction. We are pleased as well. Much blessings to you and to all that tune in to this episode. Blessings. Whoa. How long did we go for? That's a good time.
It's not bad. A little over an hour, I want to say, because we sort of had our technical difficulties at the beginning. But
yeah,
it's intense when we start sharing from that higher place, isn't it? Right?
mm-hmm.
When you're right in it, that's fine. But as you step out of that energy, it's like, whoa, this emotional release that comes through.
Yeah, I started to feel the energy drain from me just towards the end there. I started to sniffle and my eyes started to water. So that's an indication for me that my energy.
Well, for an hour is decent, right? Right. And
that's about the time that I go as well. An hour.
Yeah, totally.
How was that? Did you get all your questions answered?
Well, there was some interesting stuff in there. It was funny though when I asked, do you remember what you say? Like, can you go back? No, or you don't remember what?
Yeah, I remember parts of it.
The bit about joy. Remember, I told you at the beginning of the year, my intention for the year was to just do what gives me joy, right? In all its ramifications. And when I said, what did you project for the future? And it was like, I'll just continue shining my little light beam for everybody to see and realize that's all I really have to do. Well, okay, that's fine. I'll just carry on being me, right?
Yeah. No, I remember that part. It's like you are this bright light that sort of reflects on everybody else and is like a magnet to the collective, right?
And it's also, I think, what it for me, and I, bringing in the age factor, being able to see people see that it doesn't matter how old you are in your physical, it's how old you feel. It's how much of that gentle, joyful, light energy that the more you experience that, the more it assists you in your own growth, right? It also just lets you know that when you think of everything that we do in the past and you get to a point and you go, wow, I don't have to prove anything to anybody at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And just today on Facebook, they send these memories. Oh my God. And it was
I
a
saw
picture.
that. I like that
You realize
picture.
that picture? I'm 57 in that.
Yeah. You
Like,
don't look much older than that,
I
honestly.
know. It's like, oh my God. It's like there's this. I look back at that and I think I looked so much older when I was young, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that day of that picture, I was with Breeze and we probably had a puff or something when we're going into the woods and she was taking some pictures. And I remember trying to just, I don't know, I think I was trying to look sexy or something and I slipped and I burst out laughing and I went, that's me,
Yeah.
right? Even then. And
Yeah.
so I thought that was kind of interesting.
No, it's awesome. And if I remember correctly, Anna lived for what, 600 years? That's
Well, it
truly
could have
amazing,
been,
isn't it?
yeah, because
Well,
she
I
was
say
able.
that I wanted that question to be asked because I wanted everybody watching to also become aware of that. Like, I read the book, there's a beautiful book out there, and I was just introduced to it very recently. It's called Anna, the Grandmother of Jesus. I'll send you the link.
Okay, I'd
It's
never.
so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It traverses the life that she had. And yeah, I would recommend it highly to anybody listening to go and read that book. I cried through it. It was just so beautiful. It's like a gem, it's really very
Yeah.
beautiful. And so she talks about her life and her birthing of Mary, Mother Mary as we know her, and the birth of
Mhm.
Yeshua and their preparation of that birth. And she talks about it as being a virgin birth, which is a big, um, big, what do you call it? A big no-no in the Christian. Well, they do say it's a virgin birth, but there's a lot of um, um, debate about the virgin birth and how that came about, right? But like they talked about in this lineage, shall we say, parthenogenesis, which is the term of virgin birth, is discussed and talked about, the secrets of parthenogenesis, or as Anna calls it in this book, birthing of a light being.
Ah, yeah,
Now,
okay. So it's
so
a
you don't,
different
yeah, so you don't necessarily have to have,
being
the sperm of a man to birth a
because
being,
it's an
right?
energy
Yeah,
being.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so a lot of things were, disclosed in that book, but I also came to know of her existence through the Sophia Code.
Mm,
And she's like they said to you, she's part of that consciousness, right? And so
the collective,
I
yeah.
became aware of her through that book as well. But I just wanted to have that confirmation from Yeshua, and I guess we got it from Mary Magdalene as well, right? Of
Mhm.
her existence and her truly magnificent existence. If you think about 600 years, wow, that's truly amazing, right? To have lived in this reality and to have gone through all of that. But yeah, even about her stasis and how she progressed through those timelines is talked about in the
Mhm.
book as well. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. So
Cool.
thank you for asking that question on my behalf.
You're welcome. Cool.
So that's our show for today, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. We had a little bit of a different flavor to it, right? And so, but yeah, I just wanted to welcome anybody to go and check out my website. I'll also leave a link in the description if anybody wants to have a one-on-one session with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene. You're more than welcome to do this on a personal level, or if you want to do it like Katrice and I did, ask questions from a collective perspective. So whatever burning questions that, that's close to your heart that you want to talk to these beings about, because they are a wealth of information and knowledge and wisdom. And I tune into their energy almost on a regular basis just to get help in my own
Well, they're
reality, in
part
my
of
own life. Yeah,
they're part of who you are now, right?
yeah,
You've welcomed in that higher vibe.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it changes everything in your
Yeah.
realities.
Yeah.
Your realities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's great to have that larger perspective as well on, what's
I hear
going
you.
on in your life. And I'm blessed by so many things, that they have brought into my reality. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see what's to come in my own reality and where it is I will be in 5 years from now. So, every day is something new and something beautiful and something miraculous, right? And
It's
so,
just really allowing yourself to feel this expansion that comes with doing this higher vibe work, right?
yeah,
The more
absolutely.
you do it, the more opportunities come to you to expand on what you're already doing, right?
It hasn't been easy, though. I have to warn you, it
No,
hasn't been easy, because for me, I've had to, in a way, unearth many, many lifetimes, if you will, of trauma and heal all of that on many levels.
but you
And
know
so
what?
even last week, I went through this whole upheaval, if you will, of many, many lifetimes. And the way it manifests for me is like it either comes to me in through meditation or overnight, and I wake up and it's like this energy is just sitting there waiting for me to heal that trauma, and I'll get like impressions of perhaps a past memory,
Mm-hmm.
not very clearly if it's a past lifetime, but if it's in this lifetime and there's that thread, if you will, that's running through this lifetime, I'll get like visions of that, perhaps that event or that
Mm-hmm.
circumstance that happened. And it's like that is connected to the past lifetimes as well, right? And so when I go into meditation, it's like all of that gets brought to the surface and I transmute it and heal it. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like an ongoing process, it's like peeling an onion. It's like layer after layer has to be, removed. And so it's great to do that because every time you do that, you feel lighter and lighter and lighter,
And
And
you're
so,
opening up more space to bring
yeah.
in even more.
Well, everybody, it looks like we lost Katrice. I'm going to end this transmission and bring this show to a close. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Katrice, episode number 10 of Galactically Speaking with Katrice and Raquel. Put a like on this video and tune in next week. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Namaste.